Welcome to the Binge Eating to Food Freedom podcast for driven hearts and minds. If you pour your best self into everything you do, and yet food takes up so much energy that it pulls you away from what matters most, you're in the right place. I'm Katie Papo, and I'm here to help you create a healthy relationship with food that supports you to live your highest and best life. And for an extra edge, become a Food Freedom Insider. Each week, I'll give you free, practical wisdom you can actually use in your daily life and more. Just head to katiepapo.com/resources or check the show notes. Without further ado, let's dive into the episode. Hello. This week, I want to talk about something that is starting to come up with two of my clients. They're in the Food Freedom Intensive right now. They're about to enter phase 2, which is where we really deeply focus on body signals, specifically hunger, fullness, satisfaction, and everything in between, with the intention to learn to trust their body again. And here's what a lot of people believe at first, and I know this because they say these things to me. They'll say, I don't have body signals anymore. I've been disconnected for so long, I just don't even have them. Or some people will acknowledge they do have body signals, but it doesn't matter because their mind is just so loud, so they can override any body signal that comes up. And that was actually me too. So what I want to tell you here is that, first of all, if you don't think you have body signals, you do, and I'm going to prove it to you today. And second, if you know that you have body signals, but your mind is just so compulsive and loud and overriding it, that's something that can be worked with too. So I want to start by saying this. You now have every body signal that you've always had. They have not disappeared. They are not broken. And I'm going to show you what's drowning them out, so you can take steps to let them be heard, or felt, I should really say. So let's talk about something not as emotionally loaded as food. Let's talk about body signals when it comes to temperature, okay? Hot and cold. So for many of us, it's getting cold, right? It's November. So imagine this. You walk outside, it looks sunny, but the second you step outside, you feel chilly. So what do? You put on your jacket, right? Then maybe you start taking a walk, and once you take a walk, you start to get warm. What do you do then? You take off your jacket. Now you walk down a windy street and you get cold again. What do? You put on your jacket, right? So not a lot of overthinking here, not a lot of distrust here. Yet this is a body signal, is it not? You feel cold, you put on a jacket. But what if you didn't trust this? What if you've been taught not to trust it? What if you were taught that when it comes to being hot or cold, you have to follow a certain set of rules? So you can only put on a jacket if it is 50 degrees or below and a wind chill of more than 10 miles per hour. Anything less than 10 miles per hour, no jacket for you. Anything more than 50 degrees, no jacket for you. That's the rule, no breaking the rules, right? So if you were walking with someone and they were visibly cold and you said to them, hey, I have an extra jacket. You want my jacket? And they said, oh, no. I only wear jackets when it's under 50 degrees. And right now it's 52 degrees. So I have to wait until it's at least 50 before I put on my jacket. You would think, well, that's very weird, right? Why don't you just put on a jacket if you're cold? Meanwhile, is this not exactly what we do with food? And for many of us, it started at a very young age, maybe even before we can remember, where we were hungry and we were told, no, you can't eat now, even though your body's telling you this is the perfect time for you to eat, right? Because when we're hungry, that is our body saying, this is the perfect time for you to eat. Oh, but you can't eat now because we're not eating until 5 today. So you're just going to have to tough it out. Oh, well, maybe I could have a snack. Oh, but what if that snack turns into a binge? Oh, but what if that binge, right? It's just an endless war of mental gymnastics, of when should I eat? What's the right amount? What's the right time? What's the right portion? It's all about right, wrong. It's the same thing as I can only put on my jacket once that thermometer hits 50 degrees. I can only eat dinner once that clock hits 5 o'clock. I cannot let myself eat a portion that is any bigger than the size of my fist. One bite more than the size of my fist is wrong. So we follow these strict rules instead of the body. Meanwhile, who's doing the eating? Who's the one who feels cold? Who's the one who feels hot? Right? We trust that the body will let us know when a good time is to put on the jacket, yet we don't trust when it's time to eat. Now, why is that? Well, it's for a few reasons. And for some of us, maybe some of these reasons are stronger than others. For some of us, I have a name for this, it's that we're so disconnected from our bodies in general that we have a hard time noticing signals until they become screams. I'll give you an example. When I get really into work, I'm focused on my emails, I'm focused on problem solving, I'm focused on writing or thinking or responding to clients. Hours can go by before I realize, oh yeah, I have a body. And you know the way I usually realize is when I stand up and then all at once, it's like, oh my gosh, I have to pee and I'm thirsty and I'm hungry. What time is it? When was the last time I even ate? This is what I call floating head syndrome. And it's especially common with people who are more cerebral in nature, more intellectual, more analytical people. You live in your head all the time. Maybe your job is mentally demanding, so you're just in this habit of always being in your head, which means your attention is rarely on your body. So it shows how when we're disconnected from our body signals, it prevents us from following what the body's actually saying. So we end up either ignoring body signals and we end up overriding the body, maybe in an effort to try to eat less, for example, or we're so distracted that we can't even feel body signals. So then we might end up overeating. But here's the point. If we're physically able to be attuned to our body signals enough to know when I feel cold, I put on my jacket. There's no drama in that. There's no rules. It would be very silly for someone to have a set of rules about when they're allowed or not allowed to put on a jacket. But the difference between putting on a jacket and eating food isn't that one body signal works and the other doesn't. The difference is your capacity to listen and trust. Because with the jacket, you don't second guess it because that's not where you have emotional baggage. That's not where you have a traumatic history. You don't worry that putting on a jacket, then you're always going to want to wear a jacket. And no matter what you do, you're always going to have to wear that jacket and you'll lose control and you'll wear jackets all the time. You just wear a jacket when you need the jacket. And when you don't, you don't. And then you move on with your life. But with food, you've been trained not to trust yourself. You've been taught that hunger is suspicious, that your body lies to you, that your body works against you, that you need all these rules to override what it is that you're feeling. And that is the problem. Your body signals are there to support you. That's why they're there. They're there as messengers. But they are being consistently drowned out and overridden. But then some people ask, well, if my body signals are here, then why can't I feel them? Like, why can't I feel that hunger and that fullness before it becomes too much? And you can think about it like trying to have a conversation with someone while another person is screaming in your ear, right? The first person, it's not that they're not talking. You just can't hear them over the noise. And that's what happens for a lot of us with body signals is we have a lot of internal food noise, but it's not actually signals. It's more thoughts. So I'll give you an example. I have a client who just started my Feel the Shift program. She's only on day 2, but in her wins for day 2, one thing that she wrote down was that she was able to connect with her body signals, which wasn't even something that I taught on that day. But what she shared was, for her meals on that day, she had so much less food noise. And because there was no food noise distracting her, her body signals just kind of came through. So it wasn't even something that she was necessarily looking for. It's like when you get your ears cleaned out of gunk, like your hearing just gets better. When that food noise is cleared out, suddenly your body signals can emerge. There's space for them. They have breathing room. So what is that food noise made up of? Sometimes it's all the diet rules that you've internalized. You can't eat one thing without 50 diet rules flying into your brain saying, oh, well, you shouldn't eat that because you shouldn't eat that before that, and you shouldn't combine that with that. And it's just this endless thing. Or it could be the compulsion coming up too. It could be, well, I really want to eat this, but I shouldn't have this. And maybe instead I should have this as a substitute. But what if then I can't stop thinking about this and then I binge later, right? Already your mind has been taken away. So whether it's calorie counting, mental math, these ideas about good foods, bad foods, the anxiety about whether you should be eating, the guilt, the second guessing, the fear, all of these things, they will drown out whatever whispers your body has. Because the only time the body screams, right, the body's equivalent of screaming would be more extreme signals, like pain. That's why many of us, we might not recognize satisfaction or fullness, but we'll recognize signals that come after that. So we'll recognize overstuffed. We'll recognize uncomfortable. We'll recognize pain. Why? Because by that point, your body isn't whispering anymore. We miss those whispers. The body has gotten to the point of screaming. That's why when I would do those binges in front of the TV, I might not feel it, but as soon as I stood up, I would then double over in pain, right? And that was a signal I could recognize. I felt that pain. I didn't feel any signals leading up to that pain because I was either distracted by something, whether it was my own thoughts or the TV or all my food rules or my judgments or my guilt. All of those things were making a lot of noise. So I can't feel the subtleties of what's going on with my body. This is why my client on day 2 was able to start feeling body signals before I even taught her anything about body signals. Because the food noise was quieting down, so her body signals emerging became a side effect of that. So it's not that you need to reconnect with your body signals like there's some lost artifact that you need to dig up. They're here now. The issue is not that they're not here. It's about your capacity to feel them. And then once you do feel them, it's about your capacity to trust them. But trust goes 2 ways here. So this is not just about you learning to trust your body. It's about you being trustworthy for your body. Because if you're constantly overriding your body cannot trust you to give it what it needs, right? If the body could talk, the body would say, oh, I gave multiple signals for hunger. She never feeds me when I'm hungry. So from now on, I'm going to amp up these signals. I'm going to scream at her in the form of severe hunger, intense cravings. I'm going to make these cravings impossible to resist because otherwise she just won't listen. I'm going to create panic so she feels she has to eat all the food now. That's the way I will make sure she eats and feeds me. And then what happens? We feel all these intense cravings, we feel all these intense signals, and then we blame ourselves. Oh, I have no willpower. I'm totally out of control. Meanwhile, the body strengthened those signals to get your attention because you haven't been listening to the whispers. So think of it like any trusting relationship. Like if you're building a trusting relationship with your partner, if you have to scream at them just to get them to listen to you, that's going to be a really tough environment to build trust in. If they don't just listen to you when you say something once or twice, but you have to actually scream in their face for them to even hear you, that is not a recipe for a trusting relationship. So if you really want to build trust with your body, building the capacity to listen is a key for that. Because if you are listening to your body's whispers, it will not have a need to scream. It will not have a need to generate these out of control, wild, intense cravings anymore. All of this starts to shift once you become an attentive, caring listener. And here's what's really cool. Once you are that attentive, caring listener and you rebuild that trust between you and your body, you're now adaptable. You're flexible. You know how to adjust for days when you've slept less or you've slept more, or you were more active or less active, more hungry, less hungry. You don't need rules anymore. If one day you're hungrier than another day, it doesn't throw you into a panic because you have a relationship now where your body is trustworthy and so are you. So this is the life skill that keeps on giving, and it's 1000% available to you all the time. Not because you need to fix something that's broken. It's just about clearing the noise, building the capacity to listen, and rebuilding the trust. And then you will remember, it'll be a remembrance of what you've always known how to do. Your body is so much more capable than you have been led to believe. And when you and your body work together as a team, you cannot imagine the level of health that you can really reach. So I encourage you, go deeper on this path. Join my email list, start to learn more. Join one of my programs, start to practice this in real life with food. I can help you. Give yourself whatever it is that you need to create a healthy relationship between you and your mind and your body. Because your mind and your body are the places where you will live for the rest of your life. And to have a healthy relationship with both can make all the difference. So if you want my help, whether it's free resources or to join one of my programs, go to katiepapo.com/resources or katiepapo.com/programs. You can check the show notes for the link, and I would be honored to help you build this into one of the healthiest relationships of your life. I'll see you next week.